Welcome. We are starting the 7th module of our course, that is cost diagram and quick screening of process alternatives. In the previous modules, we have seen as how a flow sheet is synthesized. Then we saw the aspects related to the reactor design, then the separation systems, then the heat exchanger network or heat integration of the system. Now, having done this, when we are at the initial stage of finalizing a new process, we may have more than 1 million flow sheets generated with about 10 to 20 optimization variables. Okay. Now, it is rather impossible to go for a detailed design and cost estimation of each of these flow sheet. Therefore, we have to somehow reduce the number of flow sheets or shortlist the few best flow sheets. The heuristics that we have seen in previous modules can help us eliminate some of the flow sheets and provide the first estimate of some design variables. For example, in case of absorber, we saw the thumb rule of L by mg equal to 1.4. In case of distillation columns, we saw a thumb rule of reflux ratio R was equal to 1.2 times R minimum, and therefore you can eliminate some of these flow sheet alternatives using these kind of heuristics. But even with this, we are left with very large number of process alternatives to be considered, maybe few thousand process flow sheets. Again, estimation, cost estimation, profitability analysis of all these flow sheets in detail is impractical. So we have to use some other criteria for shortlisting of these flow sheets. The obvious criteria would be the total processing cost of the flow sheet, and therefore if we can find a means of summarizing the cost information in a simple and efficient way, it would be a very useful tool for screening and shortlisting of process alternatives. What is the conventional way of representing cost information? Conventionally, you have a flow sheet in which the different equipments are given certain numbers, and then there is a table that gives the installed cost of these equipment as per the numbers. Then you have, that is as far as the capital cost is concerned. For the operating cost, you have a flow sheet, a table listing all the raw material requirement, all the utilities and their annual cost, and then it is summarized. However, bringing the two types of cost, the fixed capital investment or the equipment cost and the operating cost or production cost on the same basis, and then simultaneously analyzing the total processing cost is rather tedious job, because while taking into consideration all the tables and flow sheets simultaneously, you may lose the track of the cost data, and then the job of shortlisting and screening of process alternatives becomes rather tedious. So what we will see now in this module is an efficient way of representing the cost of a particular flow sheet. What is that way? It is essentially writing the annualized capital cost on the flow sheet itself, the cost diagrams. Cost diagrams are essentially aimed at giving a concise yet precise information of cost on the flow sheet itself. So how a cost diagram is prepared? The annualized capital cost, but of course the installed capital cost is listed inside the equipment box. Okay. And the annual operating cost is attached to the streams. Different streams in the process. In some cases, both annualized capital cost and operating cost is divided by the production rate, and this gives an idea as how each equipment of the flow sheet has contributed to the unit production cost of the main product and byproduct. This is also method used sometimes. We shall basically see the first two methods for finding out the cost diagram or establishing a cost diagram. Now, what I will show you is the cost diagram of the isopropanol dehydrogenation process to produce acetone. Okay. What you see, we have seen this process before. Dehydrogenation of isopropanol to produce acetone. And now what you see on screen is the energy integrated flow sheet of this particular process. Now you can see that the feed to the process is an azeotrope of isopropyl alcohol, which is heated in a preheater that uses steam as the utility. Then the stream emerging from the preheater enters a feed to effluent heat exchanger and finally enters the reactor. It is a catalytic reactor. Now since this is decomposition reaction, it's an endothermic reaction and the heat has to be supplied. In a previous module, we have already done the heat and energy balance of this particular process. So these things should not be much new to you. The stream emerging from the reactor first exchanges heat with the incoming stream in the feed to effluent heat exchanger, and then it enters a condenser where cooling water is used as a utility. Then the stream goes to a flash drum in which the liquid and gas products are separated. The main gas product is hydrogen, which comes out. It is compressed and later on used as a fuel somewhere, or it can be also sold as a side product. The liquid that comes out, which contains unreacted isopropyl alcohol and acetone and excess water, is distilled in two columns. The acetone column, in which the acetone is removed as the main product, and then water plus IPA goes into the second column, in which the distillate product is IPA azeotrope, which is recycled back to the reactor, and excess water is sent out for effluent treatment. Now what you see here is the cost diagram of this particular process. The numbers that you see inside the boxes are the annualized capital cost of that particular equipment, and the numbers that you see attached to the streams, like for example here stream 27.5, this is essentially $1,000. All these numbers are in $1,000. So the preheater, the number 6 indicates that the annualized capital cost of preheater is $6,000. The steam required for this particular preheater, the annual requirement of steam costs $27,500 and so on and so forth. Now what we can do is that using this particular cost diagram, we can see what are the areas or what are the locations where we can go for the optimization of the process, okay? And that we will see now. Optimization of process using cost diagrams. Now this optimization is based on thumb rules. The energy intensive component of this particular flow sheet are the furnace, the preheater and the two distillation columns. Let us assume that the distillation column was designed with the heuristic of R reflux ratio equal to 1.2 times the R minimum reflux ratio, heuristic for distillation columns. However, the cost distribution that comes for the distillation column may not be optimum. For example, at optimum design condition, the total cost for the column, which includes the annualized installed capital cost for the column and with even shell plus plates plus the annualized capital cost for the condenser and reboiler and the operating cost for the utilities at condenser and reboiler. The total cost for the column, the distribution of this cost should be typically 30% for the column, 35% for the condenser and reboiler, and rest 35% for the utilities at condenser and reboiler. Okay. This is given by Happel and Jordan. In some cases, like the cost analysis done by Peter Sentimer House, the cost distribution is typically 15% for the column, 10% for condenser and reboiler, and 75% for utilities. So two analysis of distillation column given by two separate team of engineers has given this distribution, that the total annualized capital cost of the column should be distributed 15% for the column, 10% for condenser reboiler and 75% for utilities. Another analysis says that it should be 30% for column, 35% for condenser reboiler and 35% for utilities. Now, if we see the total cost of the column in the flow sheet, like for example column 1, the acetone column, what we see is that 61.6 thousand dollars is the capital cost of column, annualized capital cost, plus 12.5 plus 7.8 is the capital cost for the auxiliaries or the condenser reboiler, and the total operating cost is 3.3 plus 17.9. We take the second column, the IPA column. Here you will see $32,600 as the column cost plus 2.7 in plus 2.7, that is 5.4 for the auxiliaries, condenser reboiler, and 0.7 plus 1.7, that is 2.4 for utilities. Now, if you see the distribution of the cost among these three factors, capital cost for the column, for auxiliaries and the utilities, nowhere we see a resemblance to the optimized distribution, which means if you see the cost distribution among the three components of the distillation column, we do not see either distribution given by Peters Timmerhouse or Happel and Jordan. That means these columns are far from their optimum operation, and this gives us this helps us in identifying the areas of optimization. That means both columns need further optimization, further design to reduce the total cost of operation. Okay, so this is one thing. Cost diagram will also help us in determining the structural modification of the process. The process is energy intensive because it's a decomposition, endothermic reaction. It is energy intensive. Therefore, we have to bring down the energy requirement as much as possible by doing energy integration of the flow sheet. Now, let us try to evaluate that particular flow sheet on the grounds of the energy integration. Now, if you see here, again I am going back to the flow sheet, you will see that only $5,800 the energy integration component is the feed to effluent heat exchanger, and this exchanger is rather small with only $5,800 per year spent on it. Okay. However, if you see the cost of the preheater, it is 6,000 plus 6,000 annualized capital cost plus 27,500 for the preheater. And similarly, you see the furnace. Furnace also consumes $29,300 of fuel, and the annualized capital cost is 18,300. You see here the cost of condensing the reaction mixture. The condenser capital cost is annualized capital cost is $7,600. The cooling water takes $3,900. Okay. Therefore, if we see the cost distribution of the energy intensive components, here it is 33.5, 5.8, then 47.6, and here 11.5. The cost of the components that use external utilities is rather high. For example, steam load is high, fuel load is high. Now, how we can bring down these costs? That is by spending more on the feed to effluent heat exchanger. We can make it larger so that greater amount of energy of the stream that is emerging from the reactor can be recovered, and then the load on the preheater and the furnace reduces. Similarly, if greater energy of the reactor effluent is recovered, the load on the condenser also goes down, and therefore we can have further saving in this $11,500 for the condenser. Typically, if we retrofit the design with modifications of these particular components, then we can save up to 30 to 50% of the energy cost. Okay. So this is another area for optimization of the process. What are the further applications of cost diagrams or utilities of cost diagrams? It is about the identification of the significant design variables. What are the design variables that we can identify from the flow sheet that we have seen? The first is the conversion in the reactor. The second is the delta T, temperature difference between the diatherm furnace and the reactor inlet. Then third is the temperature difference or approach temperature between preheater exit temperature and the temperature of reactors producing the feed to effluent heat exchanger. Okay, delta T between the exit temperature of preheater and the temperature of reactor effluent leaving the feed to effluent heat exchanger. Then fourth will be the fractional recovery of acetone in compressor. The hydrogen stream that emerges from the flash drum contains mainly hydrogen, that is the side product of the process. It may contain some impurities of methane or ethane because it comes from reforming process. Now some acetone being rather volatile, some acetone leaves with that stream. Not all of the acetone condenses in the flash drum. Now the recovery of that particular acetone is essential because hydrogen is compressed before it is used for other purposes, and during that compression acetone condenses which can be recovered. So that is another factor or another variable, design variable. Then the reflux ratios in both columns, the acetone column and the IPA column. And then the fractional recovery of acetone in the column, and fractional recovery of IPA in its column. So these are some of the design variables that we can identify from the cost diagram. Okay. Now some of these design variables have a local impact and some of these will have global impact, which means change of that variable will affect the entire flow sheet. Okay. So that we note local and global design variables. Now the column reflux ratio is a design variable, and if it is changed, it will affect design of only that particular column. It is not going to affect the design of the reactor or the preheaters. Okay. So, column reflex ratio could be designated as the local design variables which affects only the particular column. Okay. However, the reactor conversion can affect the entire flow sheet. How? If the conversion is unity, then we do not need any recovery and recycle of the reactants. So, the IPA column is eliminated. However, the reactor size increases and so does the furnace heat duty, so on and so forth. So, we can see that if we change the reactor conversion, it is likely to affect almost all components of the flow sheet. So, it is designated as the global variable. Now, what is the optimum conversion? Reactor conversion is thus a global variable. How we can obtain the optimum value of reactor conversion? Because there is a trade-off. If reactor conversion becomes 1, the IPA column is eliminated, the recycle loop is eliminated, all the costs corresponding to recycle loops are eliminated. However, we will need a reactor of enormous size to approach conversion equal to 1. That will also increase the furnace heat duty. So, somehow we have to have a trade-off, okay, and that trade-off will give us the optimum value of the reactor conversion, and this value will be based on the cost of all the components in the recycle loop. And therefore, we have to make every effort to get the conversion close to the optimum value. Okay. So, this is the basic analysis or introduction of the cost diagram. Now, cost diagrams can be further utilized for determination of process alternatives, okay, the evaluation of process alternatives, and then finding the best possible flow sheet. Now, let us see this analysis using the hydrodealkylation of toluene as the case study, which we have used in most of the analysis of this or lectures of this course. Further applications of cost diagrams, evaluation of process alternatives, and we do this using the case study of hydrodealkylation of toluene to produce benzene. What you see on the screen now is the hydrodealkylation process, the general flow sheet. We have seen this numerous times. The basic reactions are toluene plus hydrogen giving benzene plus methane, and 2 molecules of benzene combining reversibly to give diphenyl and hydrogen. We have done the material balance analysis, energy balance analysis of this particular process. So, I will just explain in brief the flow sheet that appears on your screen now. Hydrogen feed is heated from 311 Kelvin to 895 Kelvin before it is admitted into the reactor. Toluene is at room temperature 298 Kelvin. It is heated and vaporized to 895 Kelvin before admitting into the reactor. Okay. Then also admitted into the reactor are the two recycle streams, the gas recycle, okay, after compression and heating, and then the recycled toluene after heating. Then the reactor effluent that comes out is cooled to 311 Kelvin, nearly room temperature, and then it is admitted into a flash drum where the pressure is reduced. The pressure for the process, as I mentioned, is 500 psi, and the optimum temperature is between 1100 to 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, or this 895 is the optimum temperature, 895 Kelvin. Some part of the now in the flash drum, phase split occurs and benzene, toluene and the diphenyl, the three components condense, and then hydrogen and methane are separated. Okay. Now that gas emerging from the flash drum also has some vapor of benzene and toluene. Diphenyl having a rather large boiling point, it does not have high significant vapor pressure. So, amount of diphenyl in the purged gas is negligible, practically 0 can take, and then this gas is split into parts. Some part is purged to keep the level of methane, that is inert byproduct, to a particular level, and remaining is recycled after compression and heating. Okay. The liquid that comes out from the flash drum contains dissolved gases, both methane and hydrogen. That liquid is first heated to remove the dissolved gases, okay, in a stabilizer column. Okay. The liquid that comes out of the stabilizer column is admitted into the benzene column, where benzene is taken out as the main product, as a distillate, and the bottoms contain the toluene and unreacted toluene and diphenyl, and that stream is further admitted into the toluene column, where the unreacted reactant toluene is taken out and diphenyl, which is the reversible byproduct, is removed as the bottoms, and then this toluene is recycled back to the reactor after heating. So, this is a very straightforward flow sheet that we can make from the basic reaction chemistry. Okay. Now, the heat integration of the process. Since that reaction occurs at high temperature and high pressure, it is energy intensive. So, to bring down the cost, we have to have as much recovery of energy from the reactor effluent as possible. Now, what you see on screen is the energy integrated flow sheet of this particular process. You can see that the reactor effluent that emerges from the reactor exchanges heat in total 5 exchangers before getting condensed in the final exchanger, condenser, and then it goes to the flash drum. Now, what are the exchangers in which this reactor effluent gives out its heat? The first exchanger is FEHE, that feed to effluent heat exchanger. You can see here that the recycled toluene is heated and vaporized in this particular reactor. Okay. Then the stream enters the reboiler column, the reboiler of toluene column, then it enters the reboiler of stabilizer column, and finally it drives the reboiler of benzene column, and then it enters another FEHE, feed to effluent heat exchanger, in which the fresh hydrogen and toluene feed is heated using the remaining heat, and finally the reactor effluent goes into a condenser where temperature is further reduced, and in the flash drum the pressure is reduced so as to cause the phase split, and then you can see here the purge stream and recycle stream, the compressor of the recycle stream, and then the liquid that emerges from the flash drum undergoes distillation in 3 columns. So this particular energy integrated flow sheet looks complicated. What you see inside the particular boxes or circles is the annualized capital cost of that particular equipment, and what you see attached to the different streams is the the operating cost. For example, power required for the compressor, the total operating cost over here is $60,000. Again, this is all in $1,000. All the cost. Okay. Similarly, this particular condenser, it uses cooling water as the utility, and $54,000 is the annual cost of that utility. Okay. Now, using this cost diagram, can we find out any means of evaluating process alternatives? Okay. That is what we shall see now. This cost diagram is rather large and also complicated. So somehow we have to simplify this cost diagram. Now to simplify the cost diagram, we use 3 means. First means is allocation of the heat exchanger cost to the process stream. Then second is lump the cost associated with neighboring processing operation. For example, in case of a distillation column, we will add the cost of column, annualized capital cost of column, annualized capital cost of both auxiliaries, reboiler and condenser, as well as the operating cost of the utilities for these auxiliaries, and lump that cost in a single figure. Okay. And the third is allocation of cost to the gas recycle loop, then liquid recycle loop, and fresh feed. So all the 5 components of this particular process, hydrodealkylation process, benzene, toluene, diphenyl, hydrogen and methane, are grouped together in 3 parts. First is gas recycle loop, liquid recycle loop and fresh feed. Now all of these components, all of these elements will have a group of different elements. Like for example, gas recycle would contain both hydrogen and methane, the liquid recycle will contain toluene plus diphenyl, and the fresh feed will contain hydrogen, methane and toluene. So these are, let us say, the elements of that particular elements of our cost diagram. Okay. Now let us see as how we can allocate the heat exchanger cost to the process stream. We know that the cost of heat exchanger is mainly a function of its area, heat exchanger area. And for a given heat duty, we are very well aware of this relation, Q is equal to UA delta T. Okay. So, for a given particular, delta T and Q, the area is inversely proportional to U. Okay. And then obviously the cost is inversely, the cost is directly proportional to the area. So, the cost is inversely proportional to the overall heat transfer coefficient. However, we know from our heat transfer principles that 1 by U, the 1 by overall heat transfer coefficient is 1 by HI plus 1 by HO plus some other factors like the conductivity and dirt factor. So, this means that the area of a particular exchanger is inversely proportional to the film coefficient of the two streams that are in that particular exchanger, the inside and outside stream. Okay. Using this principle, we now try to allocate the heat exchanger cost to the process streams. Okay. So, the cost allocated to the stream is inversely proportional to the heat transfer coefficient of that stream. We have total of 5 exchangers in this, each with annualized cost of 63,000, 14,000, 14,000, 14,000 and 22,000 dollars. So, there are 5 exchangers, okay, that treat the different streams. Now, let us try to allocate the cost. Before we do that, we need to have idea of the heat transfer coefficients. So, now what I give you is the heat transfer, the film coefficients of different streams in these 5 exchangers. Okay. So, stream data. Exchanger 1, which has cost of $63,000, annualized capital cost of $63,000. Stream 1 is the reactor feed. It has a coefficient of 690 watt per meter square per Kelvin or 0.69 kilowatt per meter square per Kelvin, and the other stream is the reactor effluent, and let us say it has a coefficient, film coefficient of also 0.69 kilowatt per meter square Kelvin. If we have to allocate the total cost of $63,000 to the two streams, we can simply divide it into half, because the two coefficients are same. Now, the next exchanger, that is a toluene reboiler. It has a total cost of $14,000. Okay. And now we have to assign it to the two streams that are there. Now, the first stream is the boiler stream itself. Since it is a boiling liquid, it will have high coefficient, let us say 1.57 kilowatt per meter square Kelvin, and the stream 2 is again reactor effluent. Now, reactor effluent, since it is in vapor phase, it has a relatively low coefficient, film coefficient 0.69. How we can allocate this? Here we have to use that the cost allocated is 1 by HI plus 1 by HO plus 1 by HI into total cost, the stream. Okay. And therefore, we can divide this using this particular, for stream 1 we write 1 by 1.57 divided by 1 by 1.57 plus 1 by 0.69 into the total cost 14, and this comes out to approximately $10,000. And then we do the same for the other stream, replacing 1.57 by 0.69 comes out to be 4, and the other comes out to be 10. So, the $14,000 of the toluene reboiler are allocated 4 and 10. If you do this for all exchangers, then you get the cost allocation. I am giving the direct answer, you can very easily work it out. The third exchanger is stabilizer reboiler. It also has a annualized capital cost of $14,000. Then one stream is boiler stream, which will have high coefficient. The other stream is reactor effluent. Since it is vapor phase, it will have low coefficient 0.69, and then exactly same distribution 10 and 4. The next column, the next exchanger is the benzene reboiler, benzene column reboiler. Stream 1 is boiler stream, it will have a high coefficient. Other stream is reactor effluent, and then exactly same distribution of price, the two cost. And finally, the exchanger that uses the fresh feed as one stream and the reactor effluent as the other stream, this $41,000 exchanger. Here the reactor feed is partially toluene and this liquid and gas, so it may have higher coefficient, but the reactor effluent is still vapor phase, so it will have low coefficient 0.69. And then using the same methodology as we did earlier, we distribute $41,000 in proportion, in inverse proportion of the film coefficient. So the reactor feed which has a higher film coefficient has a lower contribution, $12,000, and $29,000 for the reactor effluent. So this is how we have allocated the cost of exchangers which treat different process streams to the process stream itself. The next task is to lump the cost associated with a particular operation, that we shall see in the next lecture, but I just give you the introduction of it before we stop. We identify certain operations in the process, main operations in the process. What are these? First is the feed and recycle heating. Second is the actual reaction or the reactor cost. The third is cooling of the products. Fourth is the three columns, stabilizer column, then benzene column, and toluene column. And then there is the operation of gas recycle or recycle compressor. We have not considered here the liquid recycle, because I mentioned to you in previous lectures that liquid recycle requires only a pump, which is an insignificant component. It does not have much cost, so that we do not consider. However, gas recycle requires a compressor which has high capital as well as operating cost. So there, that we identify as a distinct operation in the process. So what we will do in the next lecture is that we will try to lump the cost that are associated with each of these operation and try to prepare what is known as a lumped cost diagram of the process.